Hello, everybody. Before I start, I want to introduce you to Ms. Lefkas. She's about 70 years old. She wouldn't tell me her exact age. Apparently, I wasn't supposed to ask. And she lives in Katopladres, which is a small village in the mountains of Cyprus. And within the next decade or so, we are all going to live like her. You see, in the summer of 2011 in Cyprus, there was a big explosion at Marie that took out about half of our electricity production. It basically destroyed our main power station. And from an annual production of 1,200 megawatt, we went down to 600 overnight. One day we had 1,200, the following day we had 600. So we needed to find a way to adapt. And of course, it's a known scientific fact that Cypriots always have the answer. So automatically in the news, you heard all these experts saying, we need to rebuild our power plant and continue burning oil. No, that's all wrong. We need to build a huge photovoltaic park that will produce all the electricity we need. No, that's wrong. You cannot rely on renewables. We need to get ships with generators and burn natural gas and we produce our electricity like that. Well, all of them are correct, but they have two fundamental mistakes in my belief. The first one, it gives a false impression to us, the individuals, that we cannot do anything about it. The government will do anything, the experts, the institutions, the government. And we can continue living the same way we've been living over the last 10 years or so. And also, it also benefits us because it's an excuse to shift that responsibility away from us. And there's nothing we can do. Well, let me tell you why this is wrong. In 2010, our consumption of electricity in Cyprus was about 5,000 gigawatt hours. That's how much energy consumed in the whole of the year, which means that we needed one power plant, that we lost half of it, or one huge photovoltaic park, or any other renewable energy sources. It doesn't have to be photovoltaic. Over the last years, though, we have increased our consumption by 4% every year. So every year we consume 4% more than we did the previous year. So if we continue that habit and we continue living the same way we've been living over the last 2 years, by 2020, when it's the first target by the European Union on saving energy, promoting renewable energies and so on, our consumption will increase to 7,400 gigawatt hours, which means that we'll need 1.5 times the power plants we needed in 2010. We will need 1.5 times the photovoltaic parks that we needed in 2010. And that's just by just living the way we have been doing. No change. It's the business as usual scenario, living the way we have been doing. And if we take it a further step now, up to 2050, which is the second target set by the European Union, our consumption will increase to 24,000 gigawatt hours, which means we will need 5 power plants compared to what we had in 2010, or we will need 5 photovoltaic parks compared to what we had in 2010. And if we see it now within a lifetime, and I think you can see where it's going, and we go all the way to 2081, so 70 years duration, our consumption will increase to 81,000 gigawatt hours. Remember, in 2010, it was only 5,000. So we'll be needing 16 times more power plants compared to 2010. And that's if we continue living the same way that we're living now and do not change anything. And that's why this is one of the mistakes of those kinds of discussions. It gives us the false impression that we can continue our lifestyle and let the government deal with it. And if you want to see more about the math behind this, I urge you to see a presentation by Professor Al Bartlett. It might not be on TED, but it's still worth showing. And the second thing that's wrong about those discussions, it's telling me that as a person, as an individual, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing I can do. The government will do anything, which is one of the biggest lies. I can do whatever I want. And if I care enough, I can fix my own problems. And that's what we all did after the explosion in the summer of 2011. We all care about our electricity production. our business, about ourselves, and we started saving energy, everyone in a different way. In my case, for example, I have insulated the roof of my house. Every year I was saying I was going to do it, and every year I said, I'll do it next year. Who cares? Everything is okay. Until the explosion, where I had to take drastic actions. I have a 10-month-old daughter, and instead of having her living in her own bedroom, I moved her cot in my own bedroom so that we'll have one air conditioning at night instead of two. At night, instead of watching TV closed in 4 walls with air conditioning, I was sitting on the veranda with my wife drinking whiskey, not wine. So all of that decreased my electricity consumption. And as an indication, in the summer of 2010, my consumption was 774 kilowatt hours. In the summer of 2011, the 2 months after the explosion, it went down to 500. I had a 30% decrease in my consumption. And that's not due to the power cuts, because I was working when the power cuts were there. So it's just a change of the way I was living. And that number is quite low. 500 during the 2 months of the summer. It means that with a small investment of a few thousand euros, a few photovoltaic panels on the roof of my house, and the right amount of batteries, I can be self-sustained forever. I won't need to be connected on the grid. I won't need to rely on anyone. I've managed to decrease my consumption to such a level that I can be autonomous. And that's exactly the idea that the European Union is promoting of the zero energy buildings. What that means? It means that by 2020, we will not be allowed to build a house that will be consuming energy. You have to be self-sufficient. Your consumption will be very, very little. And if you need some extra energy, you need to produce it locally with renewable energy sources. And I think what we've learned after the explosion is that we are willing to do that sacrifice. We can find ways to do it. We care enough to save energy to sustain ourselves. And at the university, we're working on 2 ideas of how can we help people that care enough to save energy. Because not everyone has the money to insulate the roof. Not everyone can afford renewable energy on their roof. And there are 2 or 3 ways that a government organizations can help. One of them is to punish you. If you don't do this, I'll give you a penalty. I'm sorry, but I don't like that. I don't like someone telling me what to do and taking my money away. The other one is for the government to give you money if you do something. So to sponsor you, to subsidize you. The problem with that is that in an era of an economic crisis, the government doesn't have any money to give you. They freeze all the budgets for renewable energy, for new projects, for new initiatives, so there are no money. So we're working basically on 2 ways of helping people save energy, but without spending any money. One of them is to enhance the building factor of a building, which means that what that means is that if you have a plot of land and you're allowed to build a house, a hotel, a hospital of X square meters, of 20 square meters, of 200 square meters, the government will give you an extra 10% for free if you are a zero energy building. So imagine now a hotel owner, they want to build something in Prodaras, they're going to build a hotel with 200 rooms, and they have to pay X amount of money. Imagine now if the government tells them, if you make it completely zero energy free, so that I won't have to worry about what will happen in the future, and you're self-sustained, I'll give you another 20 rooms for free. It's a win-win situation. The hotel owner will give more rooms, that in the end will give him more money. He will be saving energy, so in the long run, it will also save him money. And on the other hand, the government didn't spend any money. So they are able to promote as much initiatives as they want. The other thing that we're working on is how can we help the citizens, how can we help ourselves to search for these environmentally friendly buildings, these zero energy buildings. Either it is an office that I want to rent for my business, either it's the house I want to buy, the flat that I want my son to rent when they go to university, the hotel I want to stay, whatever. So I have here a map of Google of Nicosia, of one area like that, which just shows you the typical buildings, nothing more. So we're working on an idea that will put a color layer on top of all these buildings, where if a house or a hotel is environmentally friendly, you have a green layer on top of it. If it's not a good one, you will get a red one. By the way, this is the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Tourism. And on top of that, you can add more stuff on this layer. So you can find what's the electricity production of that hotel? What is its rating? Do they use renewables or not? What are they doing? And then as a consumer, I'll have the choice to decide in which hotel I'm going to stay. And that will drive a friendly competition between hotels, between the building industry, to build better, more efficient houses, hotels, whatever you want. And this is why I always believe that individuals have more impact than the governments, than anyone else. It is up to us to decide what do we want to do, how we're going to take the risk if you want, and find the solution to any problem. If I can go now back to Lefkou, as I told you, she lives in Kato Platres, in the mountains. What I didn't tell you is that she's not connected on the electricity grid. She doesn't consume any energy. In the summer, if it gets too hot, she sleeps on the veranda. In the winter, if it gets too cold, she just puts 2-3 blankets on top of her to keep her warm. She doesn't have a TV. She doesn't have internet, so unfortunately, she won't be able to see this presentation today. She doesn't have a fridge, so she produces everything locally in her own back garden, tomatoes, cucumbers. She has chickens with eggs. When it rains, she collects wild asparagus or mushrooms, and she lives like her. So today, we have a choice about our future. Do we want to live like Lefkou out of necessity, because we didn't care enough to start saving energy, and we will continue the same way we've been doing over the last decades, and then we'll wake up one day in the morning, like we did after the explosion at Marie, and we realize that we have no electricity. What can we do? We have no electricity. And automatically our whole life will be changed overnight if we don't realize that we need to start saving energy. Or will we live like Lefkou without energy out of choice? Because we start taking measures today to start saving energy, so that when that time comes when we don't have that much energy, we won't need it, because we got accustomed to a way of saving energy, not consuming energy, and caring about our future. So we have a choice to make. Do we start caring, or do we start living the way we have been doing over the last decades? Thank you.